Our advanced scheduling tool will give you additional power and flexibility when it comes to meeting your more complex scheduling needs. Schedules can be generated based upon your organization's requirements to help control your labor costs and improve overall productivity. With this scheduling tool, you have access to a rules engine that will ensure that you have eligible and qualified employees scheduled into each shift. You will also gain tools to help manage open shifts and empower your employees to better manage their own schedules. Let's begin by taking a look at our Scheduling Manager's dashboard. Our schedule dashboard is set up to provide additional insight into the information that we need to help us better manage our schedules. Keep in mind that these tiles that we see here are completely configurable to provide us with the tools needed to be successful in our day-to-day activities. In this example, we have a tile that will flag any open shifts that need to be filled. We also have a couple of tiles here that will show us how many hours are scheduled across different departments or different jobs within our organization. And finally, here at the bottom of our dashboard, we have a tile that is showing us all of the schedules that have been created for this company, allowing us quick access to review or make edits to our existing schedules. Now, perhaps our scheduling manager needs to set up a new schedule for an upcoming week. So to do this, we would need to open this report. From here, we can create a new schedule. And first, we would need to identify the schedule that we are creating. So in this case, we are looking at one master schedule across the entire company, but you can also set up separate schedules across different locations or departments as needed. Then we would need to select the start date for this schedule. Now, there are multiple ways that you can create schedules within the system. So for static or non-fluctuating schedules, you can create a schedule template and auto-generate the schedules week over week. These schedules are still important, allowing you to track attendance and time away from work, but they can be automated to free up your time for other initiatives. We can also create schedules based upon volume. Volume-based scheduling will allow you to import volume and create your shifts based upon forecasted data. And the last way to create our schedules is to begin with a workload template, which outlines the general shift requirements. So let's take a look at an example of using a workload template. Again, we are just creating one schedule across this company. However, you could have separate templates for each location or department listed here as well. So now that we've selected our template, our shifts have been identified and are color-coded for easy identification. The next step would be to generate these shifts for open coverage. This will move the open shifts from the template to the schedule so we can schedule employees into those open shifts. So let's take a look at this schedule. Here under the Open Shift panel, we can see all of our open shifts being displayed. We can then easily assign the shifts to the employees directly from here. Now, rather than assigning all of these shifts manually, we can also auto-assign these shifts to help save time as we build our schedules. This act of auto-assigning shifts does take just a few minutes to populate out this schedule. During this process, it is looking at each employee's availability, what skills they have, and the cost centers they can work in. In addition, it's also looking back to our advanced scheduling rules. These rules will ensure that there are not any scheduling violations. Keep in mind that these rules can be configured based upon your specific business needs. So for example, you can set up rules based upon the number of hours scheduled per day or per week, which will prevent an employee from being scheduled into an overtime situation. Once the shifts have been automatically assigned, we can then view the fully populated schedule. As you can see, we can easily review and manage the schedule on a day-by-day basis. Now, when you refresh your screen, you can see the total scheduled hours and any unfilled hours across the entire schedule, and you will get visibility into any labor costs associated with this schedule as well. Now, you also have the ability to set up budgets for your schedule to limit the labor costs associated with this schedule if needed. You can also group this schedule by cost center to get better visibility into each location, department, job, etc. And so as you can see, with just a click of a button, we have reorganized our schedule to see a breakdown of each cost center to help ensure that we have the right coverage. You will also notice that each shift is color-coded for easier schedule management. And while this schedule has been auto-populated for us, we still may need to review it and make edits before posting the schedule for our employees. So in this example, let's say that we need to add an additional shift. We are now brought to a shift management tool where we can identify the shift date and the shift time. Let's change the shift time to begin at 8 a.m. and to end at 4 p.m. Next, we need to add the shift qualifications, in other words, which cost center and which associated skill or job we are adding to this schedule for this defined shift. And finally, we need to make our employee selection. As you can see, we are brought to a list of employees who are available and eligible to take this shift. This list is considering all of your scheduling rules to prevent any scheduling violations. On the Others tab, we can see an example of how the system filters out any employees that do not qualify for a shift based upon your scheduling rules. It will check for skill and cost center eligibility, overlapping shifts, overtime, time off, and availability. Let's select our qualified employee. And now we can view that employee's full schedule details and compare it to their defined availability. Then we can save this shift and it will be posted to the schedule. We can also adjust the existing assigned shifts by clicking on the shift itself right here on the schedule. As you can see, a pop-up card appears, which allows us to get increased visibility into this particular shift. This will allow us to delete the shift, copy the shift, unassign an employee from the shift, and also manage the shift. This is the same functionality that we saw when we added a new shift. We can change the date or time of this shift. We can split the shift. We can also edit the cost centers or skills required for this shift, or we can assign a different employee to this shift. Now remember, we are looking at this view one day at a time, so we can toggle to review each day on this schedule, making any adjustments as we go. We can also view the entire week at once. Here we have the same level of visibility as the day view, but on a much larger scale. We can still get visibility into each one of these shifts by opening up our pop-up card, and we can continue to make adjustments as needed. Now, once we have finished reviewing our schedule, we've filled all of our open shifts, we've reviewed any scheduling violations, then we should be ready to post this schedule. After the schedule has been posted, the system will update the schedules for the employees to view within their employee self-service portal, and employees will be alerted through an email notification that their schedule is ready to be viewed. So now let's move on and talk about open shift management. Back on our scheduling dashboard, we have a tile that is flagging any open shifts that need to be filled. Then the approved time off request will take the place of the shift on the schedule, unassigning the employee and creating an open shift that needs to be filled. You can require that your employees fill those open shifts themselves, or the scheduling manager can handle this process. Now this tile here is identifying that we have an open shift that needs to be filled, and we can easily drill right down into that shift from here. As you can see, we can then review the shift details and assign the employee to the shift right from here. And keep in mind, the system will only allow us to select an employee that meets the right qualifications so that we don't create a scheduling violation. Now, rather than just assigning the shift, we also have the option to post this open shift to a set of employees and allow our employees to volunteer to pick up that shift. So let's take a look. In this case, let's pull up the schedule that included this open shift. As you can see, there is an open shift identified here under the Open Shift panel, and we can click on the Manage Open Shifts hyperlink to push this out to our employees. From here, we can select the shift and identify the employees that are eligible to take this shift. Again, this will only allow us to post this to employees that meet the scheduling qualifications. And once this shift has been posted, these employees will receive a notification and can pick up the shift on a first-come, first-served basis. Keep in mind that any changes made after a schedule has been posted can be edited right from the schedule itself, and the changes will be pushed back to the employee. Now let's take a look at how the employees can access their schedule. So as we take a look at the employee view, keep in mind that employees can access their schedule from anywhere on any device. And right here from their dashboard, they have access to view their schedule and their time off calendar for quick visibility. This calendar will show the employee when they are scheduled to work versus when they are scheduled to be off. It will also highlight any approved PTO or company paid holidays as well. When selecting a day here on the calendar, a pop-up card will display, showing me additional information about my schedule or my time off. And by clicking on my schedule, I can get more detail into my entire schedule. Here, an employee can see when and where they are scheduled to work. And the system will give them everything they need in order to make sure that they are at work in the right place at the right time. You can also give employees control over their own schedule by allowing them to pick up any open shifts based upon their qualifications and their availability. And if an employee needed to make a change to their schedule, they can initiate those scheduling changes themselves. As you can see, we will get a list of eligible qualified employees that we can post this shift out to. And once posted, employees will receive a notification and they can pick up the shift on a first-come, first-served basis. Any requests for scheduling changes will be routed through an approval process before going into effect. Essentially, this gives employees more control over their work-life balance, which makes for happier, more productive employees.